Hello and many thanks for joining us. You're watching IRIS News Hour. With the news, I'm Tabitha John. Do stay with us. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed says cloud seeding technology will support Ethiopia's efforts to develop hydropower generation and irrigation in the country. The Premier disclosed this at the Ethio Cloud Seeding demonstration event held at the Entoto Observatory and Research Center in the presence of government officials today. Alula Teklamariam has the detail on this report.
Cloud seeding is a very spectacular initiative to change lives of agrarians that depend on the rain. As the world increasingly gets hit by climate change and related calamities, such technologies would have a irreplaceable role to address the challenges. Ethiopia held Saturday a cloud seeding demonstration at Entoto Observatory and Research Center, a historic event attended by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, other high-ranking government officials, and delegations from the United Arab Emirates. Speaking on the occasion, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said the successful completion of the cloud seeding demonstration implies the country's efforts in hydropower generation and irrigation will be supported by more rain.
ዳመናን የማዝነብ ቴክኖሎጂ ላለፉት 40 ዓመታት በንድፍ ደረጃ ሲነገር የነበረ
The cloud seeding technology has been in action plan for the last 30 to 40 years. And the world has successfully made this happen practically in the last 15 years. Currently, over 50 countries are implementing cloud seeding technology. Cloud seeding is important to help protect farmland from unexpected and unnecessary blizzard. It is to be recalled that China got its cloud rain using this technology before the start of Beijing Olympic in 2018 to make the game comfortable. Similar measures have been taken by other countries for different purposes. To Ethiopia, cloud seeding is essential to help meet our national agendas underpinned by huge hydropower plants and massive agricultural efforts. If we fail to apply this technology, we cannot meet our intended goals. So, we use it for filling our dams and watering our dried up farmlands.
In the meantime, the Premier called upon Ethiopians to intensify national unity and fight against their common enemies. He said that technologies does not conflict with nature, but it is a means to efficiently exploit natural resources. Adding works will be done to improve the livelihood of citizens by expanding similar technologies.
በከተማ የምትከፋፈሉ ሰዎች አይናችሁን ዝናብ ከማዝነብ
Those of you who are being divided in cities, I want to tell you to put your eyes and focus on such technologies like cloud seeding, self-resilience efforts, and on filling our dams. Focus on the poverty reduction initiatives. If we fail to unite, we will easily help our enemies to succeed their goals. We need to be wary of our enemies and their hidden agenda, which is to destabilize the country. All of you are expected to work with law enforcement agencies to thwart the plans of criminals who want us to give up our dreams of modernizing our country. The growth of Ethiopia is the growth of our continent.
This technology is said to be crucial in complementing hydroelectric power generation and irrigation efforts.
Right after the ascent to power of Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed 3 years ago, the diaspora communities across the globe showed their solidarity to the Premier. Fast forward 3 years now, they are still standing by Ethiopia when it comes to defending national interests and shoring up contributions to grand projects. Habtamu Ashagwe has reviewed some of the stories.
Following his appointment 3 years ago, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed held discussions with Ethiopian diasporas and Ethiopian nationals to maximize their participation in their home country. Prior to his ascension to power, Ethiopian communities residing abroad had been demonstrating to oppose human rights violations in Ethiopia. And for the first time, the diaspora communities showed solidarity with the Prime Minister, anonymously voicing their unity and togetherness with him.
ፍሰቱ ወደ አውሮፓ መሆኑ ቀርቶ ወደም የኢትዮጵያ
The flow will divert into Ethiopia and not into Europe or other developed countries. It is the end of migration for our children, They rather will travel to Europe for visiting. I am hopeful that our children will mention our names due to our good deeds.
ጊዜ ያበቃል።
After this campaign, all exiled political parties and intellectuals began showing their readiness to work cooperatively in various development activities in Ethiopia.
We are here opposing foreign countries that have been pressurizing Ethiopia. We are also here to voice the realities on the ground concerning the situation in Ethiopia.
3 years fast forward, the diaspora communities are still showing their support to the government of Ethiopia. They are also denouncing the wrong narratives being circulated and the undue pressure by some foreign countries on Ethiopia.
ዲያስፖራው ብዙ ሰው ተሳስቶ ነው የሚረዳው። ለምሳሌ የተሟላም ባይሆን
Most people misunderstand Ethiopian diasporas, but their contribution is still visible. For example, they have contributed over $6 million answering to our call of $1 a day. They are also extending their support to the construction of GERD, COVID-19, among other areas. They are also voicing the value of coming together on every continent despite differences. So it is better to see the good part rather than focusing only on the faults they make.
It has been 3 years since Abiy Ahmed replaced Hailemariam Desalegn as Ethiopia's prime minister, ushering in a new era of reform. As Ethiopia celebrates the 3rd year anniversary of Abiy's ascent to power, the pros and cons of the ongoing reform are being contemplated. Goshu Melliso has the following account.
Since November 2015, protesters have swept throughout Ethiopia, particularly in Oromia and Amhara states, demanding greater freedom. The former EPRDF responded with a crackdown but had to relent as public pressure mounted. Following the resignation of the former Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn, many waited eagerly to what will happen within the divided EPRDF. In 2018, Abiy took office after a long fighting within the ruling EPRDF. Abiy also ended 2 decades of enmity between Ethiopia and Eritrea, and a peace deal has been signed. But all the while, the TPLF fought tooth and nail to erode Abiy's popularity, threatening the stability of the country.
The signature of the peace agreement between the President of Eritrea and the Prime Minister of Ethiopia is indeed an historic event in a world where we see, unfortunately, so many conflicts multiplying and lasting forever.
Meanwhile, Ethiopia has forged partnerships with its East African neighbors, bringing hope for the whole region. In this respect, Ethiopia's diplomatic reforms has borne fruits.
Let us strengthen our relationship. Let's work together. Let's, abolish poverty from this region. Let's fight ignorance. Let's grow together. This is the only offer I have had.
The TPLF continued to defy the federal government and held regional election. The defiant TPLF took heinous attack on the Northern Command.
We will not postpone the election. Despite the federal government's decision to that effect, Tigray will vote. We represent the Tigray people. The firm stance of the people is to hold elections. This is not the party's stance. The people have to decide by voting.
The federal government had every right to deploy federal security forces and use force in order to apprehend those implicated in massive corruption and gross human rights violation.
The TPLF has largely been wiped out in the 3-week-long law enforcement campaign in Tigray. Most of its embattled leaders are facing justice. However, the 3-year-long journey towards reform has been marred by security threats, massive displacements, and political polarization, among others. Also, unemployment and skyrocketing inflation is threatening the public in the urban areas.
እና ዳንግላ የሚለው ስያሜ የተሰጠ በመጀመሪያ ዋግምራ ወይም ሰቆጣ ከሚባል አካባቢ ላይ 7 ወንድማማች አገዎች እንደመጡና ወንድማማቾች ወደዚህ አካባቢ ይመጣሉ። ሲያዩት ለምለም ቦታ ሆኖ ያገኙታል ሲፈልጉ እና በቋንቋቸው ሲነጋገሩ ዳንግ ራሱ ዳንግ ነው ስሙ። የት ሄደ እላ ማለት ባገውኛ የለም ማለት ነው። እዚህ አካባቢ የለም እና ዳንግላ የሚለው ስያሜ ከዚህ አንጻር የመጣ ነው።
የከተማዋ ጉዳይ ከበፊቱ አሁን የተሻሻለ ነገር ነው ያለው።
Welcome back. The GERD trilateral discussion is expected to resume this weekend under the chairmanship of the new AU chair, the DRC, and based on extended invitations by the chair to ministers of foreign affairs and ministers of water and energy affairs of the 3 countries. AU experts, observers, and experts of the 3 countries are also expected to attend. The Nile is a transboundary water resource, and the GERD project is a crucial infrastructure for energy generation for Ethiopia. On Tuesday, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said that nobody will be permitted to take a single drop of Egypt's water. Otherwise, the region will fall into unimaginable instability. Ethiopia, as always, is determined to principled, equitable, and reasonable utilization without causing significant harm to other countries. It has been a decade since Ethiopia commenced the construction of its flagship hydropower project, the GERD. The dam is 79% complete so far, with a major and historic first-year filling conducted last year. Ethiopia faces the 2 riparian nations, Egypt and Sudan, both of whom are doing their best to thwart the construction of the dam. Emmanuel Jorge brings us up to speed.
Back in April 2011, Ethiopia began building the dam near the border with Sudan. Once completed, the $4.5 billion project will be Africa's largest hydroelectric power plant. Ethiopia believes it has the right to utilize its water resources without significantly harming the downstream countries in accordance with international law and the principles of fair and equitable utilization of water resources. Egypt and Sudan have repeatedly pursued a legally binding agreement on the rules for filling and operating the dam, a step that has been repeatedly dodged or rejected by Ethiopia. However, Egypt fears the project will significantly cut its crucial water supplies from the Nile River, while Sudan has concerns on how the reservoir will be managed. Egyptian President el-Sisi came this week with a bombshell threatening Ethiopia with regional consequences if a drop of water is touched from Egypt.
احنا ما بنتكلمش كتير بس انا بقول للناس كلها ما حدش هيقدر ياخد نقطة مية من مصر واللي عايز يجرب احنا ما بنهددش حد لو سمحتوا ما احنا عمرنا ما هددنا ودايما حوارنا رشيد جدا و يعني صبور جدا لكن ما حدش هيقدر ياخد نقطة مية من مصر والا هيبقى في حالة من عدم الاستقرار في المنطقة لا يتخيلها احد وما حدش يتصور انه يقدر يبقى بعيد عن قدرتنا. لا انا عمري ما اتكلمت كده وانا ما هددش حد. بقول تاني مية مصر لا مساس بيها والمساس بيها خط احمر وهيبقى رد فعلنا في حالة المساس بيها امر هيأثر على استقرار المنطقة بالكامل. شكرا.
They have the right to worry about the water, but we have the right also to use the water to produce electricity. Can you imagine that 60 million people can't have light in the evening, and children cannot study in the evening at home? We're obliged to cut forests to use for cooking, and this means that we're aggravating the climate issue. So if you see the geography of Ethiopia, except the Awash River, all the rivers of Ethiopia go out of the country. So what are we going to do? Just sit down and watch our water flow out of Ethiopia without doing anything? The Egyptians haven't changed their mindsets, and they are still with the period of the pharaohs.
Over the past year, the AU under the presidency of South Africa tried in vain to help the three countries reach an agreement over the long-running dispute, with the last round being stalled in January due to Khartoum's withdrawal from the meetings in objection to the methodology upon which the talks had been held. President Sahle-Work Zewde has extended best wishes to Ethiopia on the 10th anniversary of the commencement of the Grand Renaissance Dam. We have achieved first-round filling of the GERD after overcoming ups and downs, and we are well prepared for the second filling, the president said. GERD is historic property of Ethiopia, which they have been building by sharing their wealth, time, labor and knowledge, saying that the dam is foundation stone to overcome poverty and transform lives of citizens, the president added. Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Demeke Mekonnen also congratulated Ethiopians over the commencement of the GERD. Meanwhile, scholars have reacted over unprincipled approach being used by Egypt and the Sudan over the GERD.
I believe the second phase of the filling of the dam would happen, whether Egypt likes it or not. Now, another important element, there is no strategic change on the side of Sudan. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi of Egypt is supporting this initiative. They are trying to undermine Sudanese Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok. Khartoum government is going through a friction, but the Abdullah Hamdok administration is trying to survive this friction by making some tactical shifts, not strategic shifts. So when it comes to the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, I don't see any strategic shift from Sudan. Egypt, there is no change. Egypt doesn't want this to happen, and it's happening whether Egypt likes it or not. So it's going to continue to be the case.
Foreign ministers from Egypt, Ethiopia and Sudan will meet in Kinshasa from Saturday for 3-day DR Congo-led talks on Grand Renaissance Dam.
The Ministry of Peace disclosed that it has been working cooperatively with IGAD to restore peace and security in the Horn region by implementing early warning and conflict response mechanisms. African development partners have been adopting mechanisms to alleviate problems in the Horn region, it was pointed out. Haptam Washagri tells you more.
Senior officials said restoring sustainable peace and stability in the conflict-ridden Horn region is critical to bring better development. Talking to ETV response coordinator of Sewan at IGAD, Jacob Chaka said African development partners have adopted mechanisms to alleviate problems in the Horn region.
We have already selected several field monitors who will be monitoring the situation in every corner of the country, and then that is available to decision makers right away because it's data-based and now web-based.
According to Jacob, IGAD has always been committed to provide support to African countries to solve their conflict and instability.
We have $10,000 US, which is replenishable at the member states level. They can only write one pager, and then the fund is available. Now, how can they do that in an effective way? The first thing is, in conflict prevention, is discussion, dialogue. People need to come together to discuss, to understand what is the problem. So that's why we say RRF plays a catalytic role in conflict prevention.
Director General of Conflict Early Warning and Early Response Directorate at the Ministry, Mgbaru Ayale, for his part said Ethiopia is working to identify conflict-prone areas to solve problems by using various mechanisms.
The government has a fundamental structure that follows up potential conflicts, and hotspot areas have been identified. And there is a traditional kind of information exchange system, and there is also a web-based follow-up system. On top of that, IGAD, a C1 system, has been introduced to our system as well. And our officers are trained, and civil societies have also been trained together. This is a very unique when it comes to civil society and government are coming into a platform to work together on a potential conflict situation identification mechanism. Therefore, this web will help us, to know what's happening where, at what time, and the scale of the situation, what is, and the recommendation as well, what action needs to be given quickly.
IGAD calls its member states to identify the basic concern of the community, thus to solve conflicts and instabilities in the home.
In business news, the economic reform underway by the Ethiopian government is playing a significant role in safeguarding the continuation of the economic growth of the country. Reform activities run in the finance sector have scored good results in solving problems in the economy. The new Ethiopian birr note can be mentioned as one of the reform activities in the finance sector. It has brought tangible results in raising the saving culture of the community and decreasing shortage of hard currency in banks by minimizing its circulation out of banks. Economist Zamadina Negatu made the remarks while talking to ETV on the achievement of the economic reform activities in the past 3 years. Take a listen to him.
We can see it in two categories. The first one among policy reform is the homegrown economic reform. Its purpose was to stabilize the macroeconomy because there were many issues making the economy unstable by the time. So that was prioritized. For instance, changes regarding foreign currency, structural reform, decreasing the debt burden, and identifying what sectors should be prioritized. Those sectors are manufacturing, agriculture, tourism, ICT and mining, among others. Secondly is the 10-year plan, which is recently ratified by the parliament. When we say achievements, first, the private sector has taken the upper hand in the economy. 70% of bank loans are granted for the private sector, which the reverse was true before the reform. The investment and commercial code is revised after long years. As a result, there is more investment attraction, for Ethiopia's rank in ease of doing business is improved. The other is the introduction of the new birr note, which brought 100 billion birr into the banking system, and additional 6 million bank accounts are opened.
Zamadina pointed out directions forward to ensure that the economic reform benefits citizens individually, especially by controlling inflation.
When we say the economic reform solved many problems of the economy, we have to make sure it touched the ordinary people, mainly in stabilizing the inflation rate. To do so, we have to increase our productivity because the amount of import items is the main factor in regards to inflation. The second one is changing the backward marketing system, which is currently in a monopolistic approach. This approach makes the marketing system to increase costs by the will of traders. I want to suggest luring more foreign companies into Ethiopia with capital, knowledge and technology, and working in joint venture with domestic investors. By doing that, I believe that we can increase the transparency and control the inflation.